Okay, so here we are. I'm going to be covering the Colorado June 30th primary today. So I'm going to be sharing my screen right off the get-go here. I'm going to move my YouTube over here, and here we are. We're going to be covering the live results, and I'll do entire screen one. Okay, so we have a few different interesting elections that are going to be going on today. First one being that, let me just make sure my mic is properly taking in. Okay. So the first one is going to be the governor primary, which is going to be Phil Weiser versus Michael Bennet. Phil Weiser is the incumbent attorney general, and Michael Bennet is an incumbent senator in Colorado. The Republicans are also running a few different candidates. It's going to be expected to be more likely Democratic victory, but it really could. I mean, Colorado is formally a swing state. It's not so much anymore. So we'll have to see what goes on there. Then with the Senate primary, you have John Hickenlooper facing a primary challenge from his left, which would be State Senator Julie Gonzalez. This one I'm not expecting to be as close, and as you can see, even in Denver with the early vote counted, Hickenlooper's winning. However, it could start to get closer as, you know, some of the late mail-in votes come in, as younger people are more likely to vote for Gonzalez, I would assume. But I would also assume that Hickenlooper is probably favored in this race. He'll face off against whoever the Republicans nominate. And that would be Mark Baisley, and it looks like he is uncontested. And we also have an attorney general race where Jenna Griswold is the presumptive victor here, just based on the first results. And then the Republicans have Michael Allen, I would assume. I'm not really interested in the Secretary of State race. I mean, at that point, the most important election here is going to be the first district, where incumbent Diana DeGette is facing off against Malat Quiros, who is a primary challenger to DeGette. DeGette is a 30-year incumbent Democrat. So she's been in a very long time. And Quiros is a lawyer that's represented by, I mean, it's a progressive candidate, more DSA-endorsed candidate. So it looks like there could be a huge political upset right now, as the first results are in from Denver County. We still would have to wait for Arapahoe and Jefferson County, but I assume they have very limited population in comparison to the Denver portions of one. Yeah, these are just tiny parts of other counties. I'm not particularly sure why Colorado has such a weird county structure, but we'll just have to take it with what we have. I'm sure someone from Colorado could better explain that. And yes, we are back, Ernesto. Thank you for putting that. We are back. And a lot of these ballots that have been counted are the ones that have been pre-tabulated before Election Day, or I assume some Election Day ballots, because I believe Colorado is a heavy mail-in ballot state. So we're gonna be getting a lot of ballots rolling in now. I'm going to start off with saying we're going to have a lot more ballots counted, but this is a pretty huge political upset with Phil Weiser taking out Michael Bennet. Phil Weiser is running as progressive attorney general, wishing to do more with the Democratic majority in the state of Colorado and be more on the progressive wing of the party when it comes to being a governor. Following Jared Polis, who is a self-described moderate, very kind of centrist governor. So Michael Bennet is more on the center as well as a senator. But Weiser is a little bit more progressive. So it does look like there is an appetite among Democrats for a more progressive candidate. Colorado used to be a swing state. It's not so much. We can pull up the 2024 Colorado election results. I assume, I haven't seen it in a while, but I assume Colorado was around 10% of victory for Kamala. That isn't 2024. Let's look at the 2024 presidential. Oh, yeah. So it was about an 11% victory on the dot for Kamala Harris facing off against Trump. So in a in a year where Republicans won statewide, they still were down 10%. Colorado, like I said before, used to be a swing state. It really has not been a swing state since 2004. Really, Democrats have been handily winning at each election since then. And we're starting to get a lot of these rural counties to start dropping. And it's not looking good in the Senate race for Julie Gonzalez. We have quite a race for Kirkmeyer and Marks in the Republican primary for governor. But it's probably going to get better for Gonzalez, but I wouldn't expect her to win with the results going how they are right now. I mean, even in Denver, which would be the more progressive area, and yeah, she's continuing to lose ground. I'm not particularly familiar with some of the political geography in Colorado, but one thing I am aware about is just these center counties, Arapahoe, Adams County, Denver, Jefferson, maybe a little bit of Colorado Springs and Pueblo will be some of the population, but a lot of these outer areas are just practically unpopulated. I mean, you might have a few different cities here and there, but the main results are going to be Denver and the Denver metro. So we have 65, about 2/3 of the results in, but the last third is going to be a lot of these late mail ballots that younger people are much more likely to send in. Older voters are notorious for voting early, and the results are radically different between older and younger voters. Are they going to finish counting today? It's really hard to tell if they're going to finish counting today because some states are a little bit better at it. My understanding is Colorado's usually pretty quick to count, but it's going to still take, as you can see, there's some counties who haven't even posted any results yet. And Denver is in the process of getting more out. But the county with the highest results is now Jefferson County with about 85% in, or there might be some of these rural counties with more, but easier job for them to count when it's only 1,000 ballots. But yeah, this is 85% in, and I would say with the results or how they are, I mean, there might be some better results somewhere for Michael Bennet, but I would really, you're going to see this margin get closer, but I think it's early enough to kind of call it for Weiser. That's going to be a huge victory for him against an incumbent senator who has previously dominated elections in Colorado. Yeah, this Kirkmeyer versus Marks race are pretty. It's going to be a pretty close race now, as you can see. Kirkmeyer is doing really well in Denver metro, but it looks like Marks is doing really good in the rurals. Pastor and Marine veteran claims that when he was a child, his stepfather forced him to kill a man. I don't know if I would lead this if I was the New York Times. That's kind of a pretty biased headline for an election coverage. But that is a pretty crazy fact about somebody. Let's see now. We have this Senate race is very interesting. because it's one of the biggest challenges an incumbent senator has had for among the Democrats in really decades. Hickenlooper was the former governor of Colorado before Polis, and he's been a senator for some time. He's more moderate, but you can really see a lot of progressive angst against the moderate wing of the Democratic Party, and they're gonna face primaries like this where maybe Gonzalez is just 10-15% away. And I do expect it to be probably, when all is said and done, between maybe 10 and 15% win for Hickenlooper. But it's a pretty oh yeah, I can pull up 2016. I mean, I would say 2016 might be a little bit. I mean, that's a full 10 years. So the demographics might have shifted. We could do primary. This is the Sanders versus, it was a caucus. Oh yeah, Colorado. I don't know if they still do it, but they have a caucus. So it really, it's going to be impossible to compare. I mean, caucuses don't really work like primaries do. But I mean, as you can see, Bernie handily won Colorado in 2016. It's definitely a more progressive state on most issues, despite it having such a moderate bench. But let me see 2020. I do want to check. Oh, yeah, they had Colorado pretty much after Sanders had dropped out. So him still getting a third of the vote there is pretty impressive for him. But let me see. Oh, let me see here. I think oh yeah, never mind. It was not after Sanders had dropped out, but it was towards the end. I think it was on, yeah, it was Super Tuesday. It was one of Sanders' better results of that date, but we have to remember, I think South Carolina happened after this one, and then just everyone endorsed Biden, and then COVID, like this was right when COVID hit, and it heavily kind of impacted politics. It made people kind of fall asleep during the presidential primary. It was an extremely weird time. So Sanders did win this one. I mean, the map might be somewhat useful, but this is a 5-6 way race if you add in some of the more fringe candidates, and Warren's voters were all over the place too. So I don't think it would be a good comparison. But we do see that there's, Colorado Springs can be a progressive area, and then there might be a few other areas that have some progressive waves. But I would also expect that Gonzalez does relatively well with Hispanic voters in Colorado, of which there are many. But I just don't think it'll be enough for her. The Republican, I don't think he's going to stand a chance against either of those candidates. I would go as far as to say that Griswold has won the AG race, and then for Secretary of State, it's already called. And I would say Allen's won as well. I don't see any chance that Wilson can pull out from that. Let's go to the 3rd district. I want to see some more interesting races. This is an incumbent seat. Jeff Hurd is going to be challenged by either Dwayne Romero or Alex Keloff. I believe there hasn't been too much news about this one, but I assume both of these are kind of variants of more moderate Democrats. I could be wrong on that, but that would be my assumption. And then you have the 8th district, which has a competitive race as well. Gabe Evans is the incumbent, but you have a primary between Rutnell and Shannon Bird, and I think this is over before it started. Looks like that Rutnell has won, but we'll still need to see from Adams County. Um, Rutnell is more of a progressive and more moderate Shannon Bird. So both incumbent legislators, but that'll be an interesting race to see if they can outseat Gabe Evans, who's an incumbent Republican there. I won't call this one yet because I don't know if Adams County, like maybe this is just his district and then her district is going to be different. So too early to call that one. I didn't research the very specifics of the 8th district before opening the coverage. We now have about 50% of the votes in statewide, and we're going to start seeing a lot more come in. One thing that's kind of interesting is how different each race is, despite like these elections, individuals in all American elections, individuals have a very big impact on which communities are voting for you. And, you know, just because Phil Weiser is more progressive than Bennett, there might be some different local issues that people are supporting him over, or, you know, all kinds of different things. It doesn't exactly translate the same way to Gonzalez versus Hickenlooper. But I will say that Hickenlooper is a very well-known politician, former governor. He's won several elections in the state of Colorado. He is a tough horse to beat, and Julie Gonzalez definitely gave her best effort. But I would say with this margin, I don't think it's possible for her to win. But I think she's definitely gonna bring it closer than what it is right now. But yeah, I mean, like some of the areas where Bernie did the best, she's not winning, and that's with 85%, 87% of the vote in. I think she's gonna end up winning Denver, but you need more than Denver to win a statewide election in Colorado. I want to jump back into this Kiros race. So it looks like the Denver's kind of stopped counting as of right now, but yeah, this is very negligible amounts of votes coming in for Arapahoe and yeah, the Arapahoe County District, and I think there's another tiny portion of Jefferson, but I wouldn't be too educated on where that is. Maybe it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure, but let's see here. Malat is at 47% of the vote. It's a 3,000 or 2,300 vote margin. Pretty close, but it does appear that the votes that are going to be counted last are the late mail ballots, and a lot of data was showing that those late mail ballots are younger voters. But it is pretty key to note that these elections, these congressional races, we covered a lot in New York, we've covered a lot in Texas, and you know, previous primaries. These are decided by thousands of votes. It's, you know, within the Democratic Party, it's a big tent, but it's very big divisions within the party, and just a few thousand votes are deciding the future out of hundreds of thousands. So it's very key. You know, every single effort to get your candidate, you know, every ad that gets ran, every door that gets knocked is making a huge difference in ultimately who is winning in these congressional races. Okay. And we're getting just a very slow drip of results. Kirkmeyer and Marks are still going at it. I don't know if, let me see if Trump endorsed anyone here. Oh, so there was an incumbent, Jeff Hurd, was endorsed by Trump. So he was facing a Republican primary challenger and then got endorsed by Trump. So let's jump to the 3rd district right now and see what is going on with that. Oh, so Hurd has been declared the victor. He did face a challenge from Ron Hanks, but Ron, I think Republicans nationally probably recognize that Hanks had some liabilities. So he endorsed him, withdrew the endorsement, and then reinstated his endorsement. So, I mean, that's pretty all over the place. He's probably against tariffs. And he's probably going to face off against Romero, who is winning right now. I will say, 70% of the votes are in. Did Denver just drop more? Or? I feel like a lot of results just came out of nowhere, but that's very welcome to me. There's a lot of counties that still haven't even dropped anything. Oh, I think it was Adams County and Arapahoe County came in. That's what it is. They came in with 80% of their ballots. And yeah, Phil Weiser is going to win this election. I think that just about seals it. I'm surprised the AP hasn't called it yet, but we'll see soon. So that's a big progressive victory for Democrats. They have a progressive nominee for governor coming in. And the Republican race is going to be a nail biter to the finish between Kirkmeyer and Marks. I think Kirkmeyer is doing better in the Denver proper region, but there just are not that many Republicans there, as you can see. I mean, wow, like 90,000 votes or over 100,000 votes for Democrats, but barely 10,000 for Republicans. That's a huge difference. And I assume that the rurals are pretty similar in these margins for Republicans. So I think Victor Marks still has a very good chance as more rural counties still need to be counted. Now, Hickenlooper also won Arapahoe and Adams County, and I think it's completely done for Julie Gonzalez. She might get within, right now it's a 15% victory. She might get it back down to 10 if more votes from Denver come in. But yeah, they just called it for John Hickenlooper. And, I mean, he's the incumbent senator. I wasn't really expecting Gonzalez to win, but that is definitely what occurred. I think she had an internal that came out that said she was down 7, but there were a lot of undecideds. And I don't know. It's just if you're down against an incumbent former governor and incumbent senator, I don't think you're going to be able to win. Let's see how the first now. Okay, 3rd district now, 8th district. Okay, yeah, 8th district is in. Rutnell is 1 more progressive candidate to face off against Gabe Evans, the incumbent. And I do think this is one of the districts that is going to be pretty close. Let me look up the 8th district results in 2024. We can just pull up the Ballotpedia. And yeah, this is a 1% victory for Gabe Evan. I mean, 0.8% in a pretty favorable year to Republicans. So I'm going to take a guess and assume that Rutnell is very heavily favored to win that race in the current political environment. He's definitely going to try, but I think Rutnell is going to take out Gabe Evans after winning this primary. And again, I'm really surprised that they have not called this race. There's 80% in, and he's winning by over 35%. I do not think it's possible for Byrd to even close that gap by 10%, but I guess we'll see and wait for the times to call it. It's interesting they called the Hickenlooper race, but not the Weiser race. Maybe it's because the rural counties are still not in, and there's still a lot of votes to count for Bennett. But with this Denver result, I just don't see how that could be. Let me see if there's any news on when Colorado will finish counting ballots. Okay. There's going to be another update. There's an update post 7 p.m., 8:30, 10, and 11:30. So we're going to keep this open. There's some scheduled updates that are going to be coming in every few minutes or so. Really, the only thing I'm going to be waiting for tonight is for Denver, because I really do want to see this election to see how it's going. I kind of want to get a sense of what people are talking about. My feed should automatically bring up some of that. I mean, yeah, right, this. Bennett really did get kind of dusted. That's a huge sign. I mean, this is great how this is my feed. It's like Twitter knows exactly what I need. A lot of people seem very surprised for Quiros. And this is, a reporter covering this. Later counted ballots are expected to skew younger and more progressive. So Quiros is likely to expand her margin and win by a pretty comfortable margin. So I would say I would go on a whim and call this race for Quiros now, if that's the case. I mean, there's a chance there might be some. I mean, I would say if 65% is in, it doesn't mean there's certain areas of the county that aren't reporting. It just means that all of the areas have counted the election day ballots and the early mail ballots that were mailed in weeks or like several days ago. The late ballots are probably counted last, and those are going to lean heavily young for Quiros. And I think she has this in the bag, which is a huge victory. I mean, I believe she's just as old as the amount of time that Diana DeGette has been in office. So, I mean, we have like a 30-year-old facing off against a 30-year incumbent. And, it's she, like, this was a pretty And like to be clear, this is the reason why I'm not covering the Republican primary here. Is this is like a 80-20 Democratic district. There's no chance that the Republican wins in this district. Um, and Malat is Malat. Diana really tried to cover, or like run ads that would help her win this race, kind of accusing Malat of being a carpetbagger, and it just looks like it really didn't work too much. And we'll even analyze the fact that you have another person, Wanda James, running against both of them, and you know if you're an incumbent, you got to get 50% of the vote and kind of clear out all, like, make it so that you don't have any chance a challenger is going to take you out. But I don't know how you can sit in a seat for 30 years without having a competitive primary that whole time, and then fall asleep at the wheel and let someone who is 30 years old, out organize you and outbeat you. And this is going to be the key for a lot of these Democrats that are 60 plus. They don't know what's coming. People want younger representation to come in, and they're going to come in and unseat you. And this is an example of Diana DeGette, who in some capacities is like pretty progressive caucus Democrat, but Malat is overtaking her in Denver, and that's going to be a huge victory for the left there. We have to wait for all accounts to all the ballots to be counted, but yeah. And yeah, the main reason why I'm not covering too many Republicans tonight is, frankly, not many of them are expected to win. I mean, I think the 3rd district, Hurd will have a pretty good chance of holding his own. But there's really not much going on. And I do not know anything about the state legislator in Colorado, but it does look like there's some incumbents that are going down. Carver defeated Zamora Wilson here. Looks like there are a couple races. I assume that Colorado is one of these states that does not have term limits, because look at how many uncontested incumbents you're seeing here. I mean, that's just how it is sometimes, where you have a state that, I mean, this is the state Senate, a lot of uncontested incumbents that are just kind of sitting by another election cycle, picking a lane for the future. It looks like there's a couple. Cervantes defeated Phillips here. That's probably a surprising one. Very close between Wen and Henkel here. That's an incumbent. Kiki and Jackson, looks like that's in a close race. So there are some primaries here. Woodson defeating Lindsay. That's a pretty big primary challenge. But for the most part, I mean, this is kind of one thing that I don't really like that much about, states without term limits, is that you see plenty of these candidates that are just completely uncontested, have no primary challenger, and they're just able to sit and do whatever they want for sometimes decades. And it really keeps a lot of the politics very, unsurprising and uninteresting for these. You just have one incumbent sit at a seat for a very long time. Even like there's like a lot of uncontested races, which I don't think is very good for democracy. I would much rather every single person have to contest, but elections cost a lot of money, so especially if you're going to challenge an incumbent. We're still not getting any Denver updates after about however long I've been streaming. We got one update at the very beginning, about 30 minutes ago. And this is really the one that we're waiting on. Anyone have any questions they'd like to add here? Okay, we now have most of the map clear and about 76% of the vote in Colorado. And I think this is plenty of results to give you the result that Phil Weiser is the victor here. Definitely too early to tell for Kirk Marks for the governor. One thing that's going to be key is if you see Gonzalez take over Denver County, I mean, that would be one sign. But, man, I just don't think if you're going to run a statewide campaign, you got to win all over. And while she gets close in some of these counties, she does not do it enough. And yeah, Griswold definitely won there. Yeah, this is kind of a more boring election night, just as there's only a few interesting elections, and a lot of them are already decided, and then we're all just waiting on Denver for that next update. We can kind of compare let's see what 2022 looked like. And thankfully, New York Times has a perfect update here. So there was not too much going on in this election. You had Republicans nominate, I guess there just wasn't even a race for governor. Michael Bennet was uncontested, and he defeated Joe O'Dea later. I mean, you had Boebert's congressional district, which is the 3rd district. She got really close to losing in 2022, but I think she did pull it out. Definitely not as much enthusiasm among Democrats in this race because there was not any competitive races. I mean, yeah, DeGette faced a primary challenger, Neil Walia, in 2022. And just look at just complete domination here, not even a competitive race. Let's compare it to 2018, which was a little bit more competitive. There we have it, 2018. So Polis won all around the state, but there's like a little bit of a wing here that went to Kerry Kennedy. You can kind of see that wing here again for Weiser, and a little bit too for Gonzalez, but it's just not enough to carry her over to the finish. Let's see. But here, the Democrats got a lot more votes in the primary. Republicans did not get too many. It was a sign that there was going to be more of a blue wave in Colorado, at least in 2020 or 2018. And that's what it had it. Oh, I forgot about this one. DeGette did get primaried by Sarah Rao in 2018. And I remember her specifically because she has a really annoying Twitter account. But yeah, she ended up losing, and that was a pretty big election because it does kind of show that DeGette has faced this external pressure, but it's never been enough to take her out of office. I mean, let me see if I can still find. I always thought she ran in a more competitive district, not in a primary, but I forgot entirely that DeGette was primary challenge. The last challenge DeGette faced was Sarah Rao, kept herself busy after losing, so she lost, and then yeah. Yeah, she had a lot of takes. After she lost, she kind of just was posting through it on Twitter, which is definitely how you should handle losing a big primary election there. But yeah, she lost 2-1. So I mean that was kind of a primary election where it was big. I mean, you had a lot of waves of these candidates, following, AOC's victory in New York in 2018. You had, a lot of other progressive challengers that just didn't get through. But in this wave of 2026, 8 years later, it's really different. I mean, completely uncomparable. I mean, you have the sixth district. I think Crow's still the nominee now, but let's look here. I'm gonna try to see if there's any new results or something like that posted. They're saying it's over. I tend to agree. I do want to see more results to have like a better analysis, but everyone's kind of just saying, yeah, an embarrassing loss for Bennett. That's very true. He's an incumbent senator. He's very lucky that he is not up for reelection right now. I feel like Bennett would be more at risk of losing. You could kind of see Julie Gonzalez, if she's zealous, she could go for a primary challenge to Bennett for 2028 and take the momentum she got in this election and take it forward. But we really don't know. I mean, this is not good though for Bennett. I mean, just getting dog walked by the attorney general. Oh man. Oh, I see Colorado. So for right now, I'm kind of just waiting for the last batch of Denver to come in. But I'm not afraid to call where I can call, and I genuinely think that Malat Quiros has defeated Diana DeGette in a extremely unprecedented victory for the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Um, I mean, you have a 30-year incumbent defeated by, a relatively new lawyer, and I think it's definitely a good sight to see for the Democratic Party, at least, of just getting new faces in there. We'll have to wait and see what Kuros does with her newfound mandate. But as we have a third of the ballots left to count, a lot of these ballots are going to go swinging toward Kuros in the last batches. As we have the data showing that a lot of younger voters were putting in their ballots last in Denver. So it is pretty much all but over at this time. I'm not particularly interested in any other results at this point now. We could see another update at 10 o'clock for Denver. That's what they're saying here, that it would be one at 7, one at 8:30, and then one at 10. So the results from Denver are going to be flooding in momentarily, as it is 10. It's 10 p.m. Oh no, is that Eastern time or? Oh, I think this is Central time actually. Yeah, I don't think we're actually going to get the results. If this is, I think Colorado uses Mountain Time actually. I think. Yeah, Colorado's in Mountain Time zone. Right here, Denver. So they're only 1 hour ahead of me, and I would assume if this is a Colorado article, it's going to be using Mountain Time. So we're not going to get any other results for Colorado until 30 minutes from now, I believe, at 8:30, which is not ideal because I want to end my stream soon. So I'm going to just call. I'm going to use the last bit of it to call the races that I'm fairly certain. Phil Weiser won, I'm fairly certain. I'm not going to call this race, but it's kind of the Republican sacrificial lamb for governor in Colorado. So I'm fairly certain that the Democrats are going to win the governor race here, regardless of Weiser or Bennett. And yeah, it's not going to be that close, especially because Colorado is not a swing state anymore. Hickenlooper, I would say it's going to get closer, but not by that much. I think it's going to end up being around 10% of a margin, which is not good for Gonzalez, but it's definitely better than, I mean, a big challenge to you're not going to beat incumbents all the time, especially like Hickenlooper, who's such a well-known Democrat, but definitely not what you want to see if you're in the Gonzalez campaign. I don't think Baisley will have any chance there. Griswold won that. Secretary of State, Gonzalez won. She's probably going to go on to win later. Romero, I'm going to call it. Romero's won this primary against Keloff, and Hurd has won his primary challenge. So that's interesting. We're going to go to some of the other interesting races. I believe in the 8th district, Rutnell, yep, he's confirmed victory. And we have the last ballots to count in Denver. They're probably going to come in about an hour or so. I'm going to call it right now. Malat Kiros defeated Diana DeGette. This was a huge, ousting of a 30-year incumbent. And aren't you watching the World Cup game that is going on? No. Or why aren't you watching? I will watch it after the stream, but as of right now, I believe that it's still. I mean, I don't even know what the score is. Mexico versus Ecuador. I don't know. Yeah, why am I Yeah, I'm totally gonna watch a game that just started. Yeah, everyone else can watch the game. It's not even gonna get interesting yet. But yeah, so to keep covering the election, Malat Kiros won, and this is a huge victory for the left wing of the party. Diana DeGette, by all intents and purposes, I believe she's a progressive caucus member and is already pretty to the left, but there's a new age and a new wave of progressives in the Democratic Party, and they came out today. And this is no ordinary election. This is a very it was definitely a hard race for Malat to win, but she came out. She had a very good organizing base behind her, and they won the seat over. Wonder if there's any other takes there on this. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say for that. It is kind of funny that Michael Bennet lost. He's an incumbent senator running for governor, and he just got bodied by his attorney general. Almost like a flip image, the governor and the Senate race. And this is, before I get off, I mean, this is like a key thing to indicate. While you do kind of see the more progressive and more conservative areas of the state almost completely mimic each other here in terms of like which coalition is where. You see where a more stronger progressive candidate is able to defeat a weaker moderate versus a more stronger moderate is able to defeat a weaker progressive. And this is a perfect example of that, where the coalitions are necessary to push forward and win. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. We'll check out the next. I mean, let me see the 2026 primary calendar, because I do want to cover these races live again. This one is just a short little low-key one, because it's only one state, and Colorado only has like 3 or 4 interesting elections. Unfortunately, there's no interesting Republican races as well on top of the Democratic ones. But so we can see here that, wow, why would they not make this in order originally? Okay, yeah, we're going to do by order. So we just got through June. The next primary race is Arizona. That's a whole 3 weeks away. That's really surprising, actually. Then we have Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, and Virginia, Washington, Tennessee, and Hawaii all in 1 week. Missouri has an interesting election. They have the district that I believe Cory Bush was in, so I want to cover that. And then Michigan's going to be very interesting. Obviously, the Senate primary there. It's crazy to believe it's just 1 month away now. Well, 5 weeks, but yeah. Then you have Kansas. That should have a few interesting elections. And then Virginia, which it's a congressional primary, which will be pretty interesting. I'm definitely going to be streaming on that day, because I have a lot of things to say about that one. Washington will also be interesting, but honestly, I'll probably be in bed before that one, because it won't come out until 8 p.m. Or I mean, I'll probably be able to watch it, but I probably won't be watching the stream. And yeah, that should be it for now. I will definitely be back on August 4th to cover all those elections. And I don't think there's anything too interesting in Arizona, so I might cover that one, but I probably won't. But yeah, that's everything for today. We still don't have another Denver update, and I'm not going to wait for that. It's going to come in about 30 minutes, and I expect Malat Kiros to expand your lead. Weiser already won, and Hickenlooper already won, but I think Gonzalez might make it a little bit closer. But yeah, that's a healthy 15-point victory for Hickenlooper. So he's going to be continuing another 6 years. Yeah, that should be everything. Yeah, still no update here, but I'm gonna call it for Kiros. So have a good day to everyone who watched, and I'll be back on the 4th. Thank you for your time. There we go, and end stream.